Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We bid all of you a very fine evening tonight. Thank you all for coming tonight to see our work for this semester that we've worked on, and we are very proud to present to you tonight not one, but two amazing shows. In the first one, which, thinking about it now, both shows might seem a bit dissimilar at first, but both shows have something in common. And that thing in common is that they are based on nursery rhymes for children. In the first one, you will be met by a certain Jack and a certain Jill, who went up a certain hill to fetch a pail of water. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, you will be the jury to determine of what followed after. After this one-act play, we will have a small intermission of 15 minutes for you to refreshen up a bit and grab a bottle of water. But be sure to come back for the highlight of the evening, which is one of the most thrilling murder mystery plays by Agatha Christie. Ladies and gentlemen, 10 little soldier boys will arrive to an island tonight, and soon there will be none. After the first act of this highlight of the evening, we will have another 15-minute break, and after the whole evening, the whole performance, you're all kindly welcome to join us at an after party in Kacyczko, in Prior building, where we shall celebrate the end of the semester and this whole production. And we're looking forward to hearing from you what you liked and what you expect of us in the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, have a very fine evening and enjoy the show. Actovka.
Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after.
The story you are about to see is false. No names have been changed because no characters are real. Everything is made up. All of it. In fact, I'm pretty sure that the court events aren't even close to correct. The entire incident has been strung together from bits and pieces of movies and television seen by the author. In short, the story is completely fake, so please, pay no attention to what you are about to see. You have been warned.
Hey! You! Mysterious-looking guy in a suit. I warned you not to loiter in the courtrooms! Get out of here! Oh my god, you have to absolutely tell me about the shoes. Where you got them? They are simply fantastic. I need to know. Seriously. Put the chair up for me.
All right,
Judge Guido prescribing.
Presiding.
All sit in honor of the Honorable Judge Guido.
Thank you, bailiff.
No, thank you, Judge.
Prosecution, you may now present your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my case is simple. I intend to prove that on the day of July 14, 2023, Jack Hill and my client, Jill Dumpty Hill, not only went up a hill to fetch a pail of water, and not only came tumbling down that hill, but also that the defendant, in an extremely agitated state, managed, through his carelessness and sheer abhorrence for all things good and beautiful, caused my client, Jill Dumpty Hill, to fall down said hill, then himself tumbling after. It is through my belief in strong judicial system that my client, Jill Dumpty Hill, once, no, demands 50% of Mr. Hill's estate for physical and mental damages. Thank you.
Thank you, prosecution. You may take your seat. Defense? Defense, it's your turn.
Whoa, me? Okay, if I could just go to the, bathroom real quick. I have to pee.
What's the problem?
He ate my opening speech.
Oh, for pity's sake, just do what you can remember.
But I can't. It was really good. I swear it was.
Then fake it.
Fake it?
Wing it.
Wing it?
No!
Now, Your Honor, I am sick and tired of this load of baloney. It is obvious to me, for reasons that will become ever more apparent as events are unfolding. Unfolding like so much origami. The origami of justice, yes. It will be so very apparent for these aforementioned reasons that my client, Jack Hill, though he may have tumbled down that hill and he may have been agitated, did not have the capacity for being anything more than a victim. Yes, a victim in these unfortunate happenings of happenstance. For instance, yes. Look here. Is this the face of a murderer? Look at this poor tortured soul. Muffins! There, muffins. Is that the sort of thing an attempted murderer spends every waking moment thinking about? I have spent weeks building my case with this fragile, simple man, and I can attest that there is very little else poor Jack is capable of pondering. Poor, stupid Jack. Simple Jack. Crazy old Jack. Jack, well, bullback. I want the jury to look deep into the soul of this man and tell me honestly, does he have it in his heart to kill, nay, break even the most rudimentary of laws? It is sad to me, terribly sad that we must sit in this courtroom today debating such a
Ridiculous notion.
As to whether or not this man could be capable of such a horrible act.
A man of the sausage. Am I? Defense? What's wrong with your client?
Your Honor, after the near fatal tumbling down of the aforementioned hill, my client Jack Hill attained a massive head wound for which he had to have a large portion of his brain removed.
What?
Brain surgery that removed an entire damaged lobe of Jack's brain, forever denying him its higher function. It's an expensive, costly, long, time-consuming, and expensively costly procedure that took months, years to complete. An operation that cost my client upwards of $9 million!
Your Honor, I object. The defense is clearly just making up these numbers.
Wait! You can't object during an opening statement.
Can I not? I swear I saw it once in that movie. You you know, redhead.
And then what guy?
Yeah, that's the one.
Defense, let's get a move on.
A $90 million operation.
Defense!
So, obviously, my point being, if Mrs. Jill Dumpty Hill does not feel that my client, Jack Hill, has suffered, yes, if she feels that he has not suffered enough, then certainly take half of everything. Maybe then she can finally whet that insatiable appetite for my client's prolonged suffering. Yes, suffering.
And a 4-pound strudel.
And a 4-pound strudel. Case closed.
Thank you, defense. Prosecution, you may call your first witness.
I would like to call.
This court will now take a 15-minute intermission for a tasty, crispy break.
A what?
Oh.
This court will now come to session. Judge Lance Guido proceeding.
Presiding. Prosecution, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. For my first witness, I would like to call Jill Dumpty Hill to the stand.
Mrs. Dumpty Hill, please take the stand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and all the truthy sort of stuff?
Sure. Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor.
Proceed.
Jill, could you please describe for the members of the jury the events that took place on July 14, 2023?
Yes, I certainly can. You see, me and Jack, meaning myself and the muffin man over there, went up this stupid hill to fetch some stupid water for his stupid grandmother. Well, while we was getting the water, that's the water his grandmother had told us to get, we got into a stupid little argument. Just because I said I wish his grandmother would either get her own stupid water or just go ahead and die already, so we don't have to worry about it no more. Well, the argument went on pretty basically. I don't know why you always have to bring my grandmother into things. And I can't believe you've been slowly poisoning her prune juice a little bit each day so that nobody would notice that. Then, for no good reason at all, he up and pushed me right down that big old hill. Then afterwards he must have slipped or something. I'm not real sure what with the dizzying vertigo I was experiencing while tumbling myself. However, he managed it. He came tumbling after. Well, I came out alright with just some bruises and a scraped knee, but Jack busted up his thumb real good and had to have the operation, which, may I add, did not cost no $90 million.
An operation that you yourself, a dedicated wife, ultimately pushed to the limit by your heartbreak and resulting financial devastation, had to save and scrape for.
Me? Pay for the operation? Oh, heck no. I let his grandmother pay for that. No broken crown of no idiot ex-husband is
No! Further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Defense.
Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor.
That depends. Your client hasn't eaten your examination notes too, has he?
No, sir.
Then be my guest.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mrs. Jill Dumpty Hill, just why is it that your name is Dumpty Hill and not just Hill?
Dumpty is a name I kept from my first husband, Mr. Humpty Dumpty.
And as I understand it, your relationship with him ended in a, shall we say, tragedy as well?
No.
No?
Well, not exactly. He had a little accident involving a wall and we just couldn't put our marriage together again. He wasn't the same old Humpty after that.
Isn't it true that you went to court over that matter as well? And why exactly was it that you went to court over the matter, Mrs. Dumpty Hill?
It was all just a big misunderstanding, that's all.
But exactly what was the misunderstanding?
Well, Humpty accused me of pushing him off the wall.
Pushing him off the wall. Why, Mrs. Dumpty Hill, that sounds suspiciously like the same thing that these very proceedings are all about. Jack supposedly pushing down that hill, I mean. Do you think that's just a coincidence?
Yes, and I was found innocent of those charges anyway.
That's not entirely true, because you settled out of court with Mr. Dumpty, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
I said order! Order! That's better. Proceed.
It was the view of the prosecution in that case that you pushed Mr. Dumpty off to collect on his high insurance, was it not?
That's what they said, yes.
They said that you pushed Mr. Dumpty off the wall to collect on his life insurance policy that, if it had paid off, would amount to over $1.5 million. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
I see. So you're telling us that it's just a coincidence that your next husband, Jack Hill, my client, our defendant here in this courtroom today, also fell down something, in this case a hill, broke his crown, and now you're again trying to collect on it?
Yes, that is totally coincidental.
Mrs. Jill Dumpty Hill, during your initial divorce proceedings with Mr. Jack Hill, isn't it true that he offered you a large settlement? Over 30% of his estate?
Depends on what you'd call large, I guess, but yes, that is true.
And isn't it true that in a jealous rage over the fact that the sum wasn't for you, foolishly turned it down?
Yes.
And isn't it true that this whole case is nothing but a method to get back at your ex-husband?
Well, honestly, yeah, that's true.
And isn't it true that your name isn't Jill at all, but Senor Hortense, the Mexican gangster?
No, that's not true.
The defense rests, Your Honor.
Thank you. Jill, you may step down. Prosecution, you may call your next witness.
Your Honor, I would like to call Jack Hill to the stand.
Order! I will have order in my court. Prosecution, the defendant is in no mental state to testify. You will not turn my courtroom into a circus.
Oh, okay. How about a festival?
No!
Jubilee.
No!
Hippodrome.
I'm going to allow it.
Go on then. Not with that.
Do you promise not to lie?
Warning! Close enough!
Close enough.
Jack, did you or did you not climb a hill with my client Jill Dumpty Hill on the night in question?
Nougat.
All right, Jack. Let me put it another way. Were you or were you not on a hill on the night in question?
Fiddlesticks.
Jack, this is no laughing matter. Do you understand the hurt, the suffering, the mental pain and anguish you caused this woman, my client, your former wife, to whom you were betrothed? Did you or did you not push your ex-wife down that hill? Did you or did you not push my client down that hill?
Mustache!
For the last time, Jack! Did you or did you not push Jill down that hill?
No!
You what? No?
Washcloth.
Jack, you clever devil. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Defense, would you like to continue this circus?
Hippodrome.
No, thank you, Your Honor. I am deathly afraid of clowns.
Jack, you may step down. I said you may step down. Jack, down now. Defense, get your client off the bench.
Look here. Jack, chocolate.
Chocolate!
Oh, not for you.
Aww. Prosecution, you may call your next witness.
No further witnesses at this time, Your Honor.
Very well. Defense, you may call your first witness.
Your Honor, I would like to call one Mrs. Mother Goose to the stand.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, all the truth, and if the truth is what is asked of you, you will tell us everything regarding any truthish elements in this case?
What? I'm sorry, honey. You'll have to speak up. My hearing's not so good as it used to be.
I said, do you swear to tell the truth?
What? I'm sorry, honey. You'll have to speak up. My hearing...
She does!
Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor.
Proceed.
Your Honor, I hold in my hand a published factual evidence. Nursery Rhymes by one Mrs. Mother Goose. Mrs. Goose, this is your book, is it not?
No, I'm sorry. I don't know, Nabrooke.
Not a book, a book!
Look? Look at what?
Your book! Book!
Oh yes, I love to cook. Why do you ask?
Defense, we believe that she wrote the book. Just get on it.
What does all this have to do with cooking?
Please proceed, defense.
I've never cooked in a courtroom before.
Defense, please!
Hey, you! Is that my book of nursery rhymes you got there?
Yes!
Yes, it is! So you're saying you wrote this book, right? You wrote this book.
No, I don't know, Nabrooke.
Never mind. Permission to read a passage from the book, Your Honor.
Just do it!
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I would like to tell you a little story. It seems like Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. Here is a published factual document that my client, Jack Hill, went tumbling down that hill first. The defense rests. You're wrong.
Thank you. Prosecution, do you have any further witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to call 911 phone operator Frank Noodlemeyer to the stand.
Do you swear to tell the truth?
Skip it!
Skip it.
Permission to approach the bench, Your Honor.
Proceed.
Your Honor, I didn't think the need to submit this evidence would become necessary, but since the defense wants to play hardball, I have few questions for Mrs. Noodlemeyer. Mrs. Noodlemeyer, is it true you were working at your post on July 14, 2023?
Oh, yes, I was.
And did you receive a 911 call that day from someone in this courtroom?
Yes, I did.
No. Could you point them out for the jury?
Oh, yes, I certainly did.
So do it. All right. Sorry. Your Honor, I ask permission to play a tape for us today.
Proceed.
Your Honor, this tape player holds a phone conversation by Jill Dumpty Hill to Mrs. Noodlemeyer. Let's have a listen, shall we?
911 emergency. Yes, I need help. Okay, just calm down and tell me what's happening. My husband's going crazy. Please, ma'am. You'll have to calm down.
Okay, I just came home from the local department store with a new dress. It was really expensive, but when my husband found out, he went psychopathic. He hates it when I buy new clothes for myself, and every time someone even mentions me buying clothes, he goes crazy. He's been chasing me, trying to bonk me on the head with a potato in a sock.
Trying to bonk you on the head with a sock? With a potato, you say? Good Lord, ma'am. Try to stay calm and just tell me your address.
Hey, there you are! What are you doing? Get off that phone! I'll bonk you good.
Mrs. Noodlemayer, can you identify the attacking voice on that tape? Yes? Well, is that person present with us today? Yes, he is. Well, could you point him out for a jury, please? Yes! There you have it. Obvious malicious intent to harm by Mr. Jack Hill. He is not the kind, loving person the defense claims him to be. No! Inside, he is a cold-blooded, potato-filled sock bonker, capable of bonking my client on the head with a sock and potato, and certainly capable of pushing defenseless women down hills.
Objection, Your Honor. That's ridiculous. Who could go on a rampage over a single silly little thing like Jill here purchasing some new garments?
What? Jill bought new clothes? I'll bonk her good. She's got 3 outfits, and that's all fit to be having. Why? I'll strap the monkey to a pirate ship and rip the hair out of the hamburger! Ah!
Well, that was unexpected. Never mind, Your Honor.
What just happened? Is he okay?
I said quiet! Quiet! Oh, that's better.
The prosecution rests, Your Honor.
Mrs. Noodlemayer, you may take your seat.
Defense, do you have any further witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Very well. You may now present your closing statements.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have seen many things here in this courtroom today. Many things that have damaged the defense of my client, slowly chipping away at its hard, crispy, nutty coating to reveal the dark, wicked, creamy chocolate poison inside. But I ask you to remember the evidence that we have seen. My client, Jack Hill, may have a problem whenever somebody mentions that Mrs. Jill Hill has bought new clothes. But I also want you to remember that in Jill's account of the Hill incident, she herself said that the argument she and Jack had was over the fetching of a pail of water. Appeal for Jack's grandmother. Jack's stupid grandmother, mind you. Jack's kind, gentle, frail grandmother. So, what reason would Jack have to enter one of his, admittedly out of control, though rare, stages of rage? I ask you to ponder the record of the Hill incident by Mrs. Mother Goose, which clearly states that Jill came tumbling after her. I also want you to consider that Jill has been in court over such a matter before, the wall pushing of her first husband, Humpty Dumpty. Is my client a sick man? Oh, yes. Perhaps even before the surgery. Did he bonk his own wife with a sock?
And potato?
And potato? Yes. But does that mean that the evidence we have seen today concludes that my client is beyond the shadow of a doubt guilty of pushing his own wife down a hill? I see a shadow, good people of the jury. I see a shadow, and its name is doubt. I if you really need help. And Judge, where would I be without you, babe? I love you. I want to thank my parents, my sister, and my dog, who sadly couldn't be with us here today because they wouldn't let me bring him inside. And also thanks to thanks to our legal system. You taught me everything I know, and you teach me new things every day. Also, Shveta, Kaba, let's go, and on dance!
Thank you, defense. Truly very stirring prosecution, I believe the bar has been set.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll do my best. Members of the jury, it may be true that the conversation that Jack and Jill had that fateful day on the hill was not about Jill's new clothes.
Cheese!
But it does show, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Jack is more than capable of such a villainous act. Do you know what a potato inside of a sock can do to a person? If swung at proper velocity, it can create bruises, welts, and really stings. Remember the 911 call? You all heard his cruelty towards her, his attempted potato-filled sock bonking, and over such a petty, insignificant thing as Jill buying new clothes. It may also be true that Mother Goose documented the incident as having Jill coming after. But remember that Mother Goose, although beloved childhood figure, is clearly hard of hearing and extremely nearsighted. How could this be a reliable document? Just because the document is published doesn't make the author a reliable eyewitness. Could she really know exactly what happened on July 14, 2023? No, she could not. My client, Jill Dumptyhill, is the only person in this case who is of sound mind and therefore is the only ones whose statements can be used to make a decision. That is why I believe it is your civil duty as assigned peers and loyal citizens of this nation to carry out justice and end this poor, innocent girl's suffering.
That's me.
Your Honor, the prosecution rests.
Thank you, prosecution. Next time, bring cookies when you want to milk something. The jury will now retire and decide the fate of the defendant. This court will take a corresponding 5-minute intermission.
Recess.
Huh?
In a courtroom, it's called the recess.
Recess?
Recess!
Oh God, we are so bad. The second ending, I can't.
Okay. I guess that's my job. All right. Let's see what you guys think. Now, raise your hand if you believe that Jack Hill is guilty of attempted murder by hill pushing. Okay. Thank you. Now, raise your hand if you believe
So will you finally tell me where you got the shoes from or not? Come on.
Oh, all right!
Would the bailiff please collect the jury's decision and read it aloud to the court, please?
The jury has found the defendant, Jack Hill, not guilty of attempted murder by Hill Bushing.
That's good. No! You can't do this to me! That's not possible! You monsters! Do you have any idea how bad a potato in a sock stings, huh? No, I thought so, but it stings really bad. How can you do this to me, you idiots? Now I have to go, get a brand new husband, make up a whole new scheme, drag my butt into court all over again, and for what? So some stupid jury can tell me what didn't happen to me on the hill? Huh? Were you there? Were any of you there? How can you do this to me? You have no idea what happened to me, so how can you...
I'm sorry, I have no idea what came over me.
I do.
What?
I mean, that still doesn't excuse you from what we've learned today, prosecution. I hope we've all learned that in a situation like Jack and Jill's, it never pays to resort to violence. Never. Got that? Violence never solves problems. It only creates them. Got that? Good! I hereby drop all charges against the defendant, Jack Hill, and I hereby sentence his ex-wife, Jill, to 2 months community service for her annoying, shrieky voice. I hereby drop all charges against the defendant, Jack Hill, and I hereby sentence his ex-wife, Jill, to 2 months community service for her annoying, shrieky voice. Annoying and shrieky voice? What? I resent that! Make that 5 months! 5 months? And for what? For my annoying, shrieky voice. I almost killed him, and for my annoying, shrieky voice? I resent that! And I was absolutely free! What is he doing? What? I was free! Why are you doing this to me? I am completely innocent! What are you doing? Hell, I was innocent!
Jack, here's your papers. You will need this. Here's your papers, Jack.
Come back!
Your papers!
And so ends the saga of Jack and Jill, another happy tale with yet another mildly unsatisfying happy ending. But what did we learn from this heavy-hearted scene of courtroom drama? Did we learn that some people simply aren't meant to be together? Not really. Did we learn that complicated minds come in simple packages? No. Did we learn that frivolous lawsuits do nothing but jam up our already crowded legal system? Not the slightest. Simply put, we have learned but one thing in this courtroom today. Nothing, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely nothing. Thank you and good night.
Hey! I warned you, pal!
I've got chocolate!
First lot to be arriving in Jim's boat. Another lot not far behind.
Good evening, Fred.
Good evening, Mrs. Rogers.
Is that the boat?
Yes,
Dear already. Have you remembered everything?
I think so. Lemons, slip soles, cream, eggs, tomatoes and butter. That's all, wasn't it?
That's right. Oh, so much to do, I don't even know where to start. All these guests arriving today and no maids till the morning.
Calm down, Ethel. Everything is ship-shape now. Looks nice, don't it, Fred?
Looks neat enough for me. Kind of bare, but rich folks like places bare, it seems.
Rich folks are strange.
And he was a strange sort of gentleman as built his place. Spent a wicked lot of money on it he did, and then gets tired of it and puts the whole thing up for sale.
Well, beats me why Owens wanted to buy it, living on an island.
Oh, come off it, Ethel. And take all that stuff out into the kitchen. They'll be here any minute now.
Yes, making that steep climb an excuse for a drink, I suppose. Like some others. I know.
Oh, that'll be Andrew. I will be getting along. There's two gentlemen arriving by car, I understand.
Oh, I shall want at least 5 loaves of bread in the morning and 8 pints of milk, remember.
Right.
And don't forget to put the oil into the engine, Fred. I ought to charge up tomorrow, or I'll have the lights run it down.
To us held up on a railway. It is at the station now. I will bring it the first thing tomorrow.
Good. And give a hand with the luggage, will you?
Right.
I forgot to give you a list of guests.
Thanks, old girl. Doesn't seem a very classy lot to me. Miss Claythorne. She'll probably be the secretary.
I don't hold much with secretaries, worse than hospital nurses, giving themselves airs and graces and looking down on the servants.
Stop carousing and cut along to that lovely, up-to-date, expensive kitchen of yours.
Well, too many newfangled gadgets for my fancy.
So, this is it.
How perfectly lovely.
Miss Claythorne.
You're Rogers.
Yes, good evening, miss.
Good evening, Rogers. Will you bring up my luggage in Captain Lombard's?
Very good, miss.
You've been here before?
No, but I heard a lot about the place.
From Mr. and Mrs. Owen.
No, Johnny Brewer, an old pal of mine, built this place. It's a sad and poignant story.
A love story.
Yes, ma'am. Saddest one of all. You see, Johnny was a wealthy old boy who fell in love with the famous Lily Logan. Married her, bought the island, and, well, built this place for her.
Sounds most romantic.
Poor Johnny. He thought by cutting her off from the rest of the world without even a telephone as a means of communication, he could hold her.
But of course, the fair Lily tired of her ivory tower and escaped.
Johnny went back to Wall Street, made a couple of more millions, and, well, the place was sold.
And here we are. Well, I ought to find Mrs. Owen. The others will be up in a minute.
It would be very rude of you to leave me here all by myself.
Would it? Oh, well, I wonder where she is.
She'll come along when she's ready. By the way, while we're waiting, do you mind if I grab a drink? I'm very dry.
Of course.
That's certainly warm after that steep climb. What's yours?
Oh no, not for me. Not on duty.
The good secretary is never off duty.
Really, this is exciting.
What is?
All of this. The smells, the sea, the gulls, and the beach, and this lovely house. I'm going to enjoy myself.
I think you are. I think we both are. Well, here's to you. You're very lovely.
Where's Mrs. Owen?
Mr. and Mrs. Owen won't be down from London until tomorrow, miss. I thought you knew.
Tomorrow? But...
Here's the list of the guests expected, miss, if you'd like to have it. The second boatload is just arriving.
Thank you. How awful, I say. You will be so kind and help me, won't you?
I won't move from your side.
Thank you. It seems silly to have brought only us in the first boat and all the rest in the second.
That, I'm afraid, was by design, not accident.
Design? What do you mean?
Well, I suggested to the boatman that there was no need to wait for any more passengers. That and 5 shillings soon started up the engine.
Oh, you shouldn't have done that.
Not a very classy lot, are they?
Well, I thought the young man was rather, nice looking.
Callow. Definitely callow. Very young.
Well, I suppose you think a man in his 30s is more attractive.
I don't think, my darling. I know.
Wizard plays you got here.
I'm Mrs. Owen's secretary. Mrs. Owen has been detained in London, I'm afraid, and she won't be down until tomorrow.
Oh, too bad.
May I introduce Captain Lombard, Mr.
Marston. Anthony Marston.
Have a drink?
Why, thank you.
Right. We got whiskey, sherry, soda.
Whiskey, I think.
I must say, wonderful place you got here.
I'm Mrs. Owen's secretary. Mrs. Owen has been detained in London, I'm afraid, and she won't be down until tomorrow.
Say when?
Oh, wizard.
How are you?
My name's Lombard. How are you, Mr.
Davis. Davis is the name.
Mr. Davis. Mr. Marston.
How are you, Mr. Marston? Nice to meet you. Thanks, Miss Lombard. Bit of a steep climb up here, but phew! What a view! And what a height! Reminds me of South Africa, this place.
Does it? What part?
Oh, Natal, Durban, you know.
Really?
Well, here's to temperance. Do you know South Africa?
Me? No.
That's where I come from. That's my natal state.
Interesting country.
Finest country in the world, sir. Gold, silver, diamonds, oranges, everything a man could want. Talk about a land flowing with a beer and skittles.
How do you do?
General Mackenzie, isn't it? I'm Mrs. Owen's secretary. Mrs. Owen has been detained in London, I'm afraid, and won't be down until tomorrow. May I introduce Captain Lombard, Mr. Marston, and Mr.
Davis! Davis is the name.
Whiskey and soda, sir.
Yes, thank you. You in the service?
Formerly in the King's African Rifles. Too tame for me in the peacetime, so I chucked it.
Pity. When?
It was about...
Where is Miss Owen? I am Mrs. Owen's secretary.
Mrs. Owen has been detained in London, I'm afraid.
It won't be down until tomorrow.
Indeed. Extraordinary. Did she miss the train?
I expect so. Will you have anything? May I introduce Captain Lombard, General Mackenzie, Mr. Marston, and Mr.
Davies! Davies is the name. May I take your case?
Do let me give you a drink. A glass of sherry, a dry martini, whiskey and soda.
I never touch alcohol.
She never touches alcohol.
I suppose you know, young man, that you left us standing there on the wharf.
I'm afraid, Miss Brent, I was at fault for that. I just wanted to.
It seems to me most extraordinary that Miss Owen shouldn't be here to receive her guests.
Well, perhaps she's the kind of person who can't help missing trains.
That's what I reckon she is.
Not at all, she isn't at least like that.
Perhaps it's her husband's fault.
She hasn't got a husband. I should like to go to my room.
Yes, of course. I will take you there.
You'll find Mrs. Rogers upstairs. She'll show you to your room.
I'm afraid our hosts and hostesses haven't arrived yet. My name's Lombard.
Mine's Wargrave. How do you do?
How do you do? You have a drink?
Yes, a whiskey.
How are you? Davies. Davies is the name. I see. Wonderful place you got here. Quite unique.
As you say, quite unique.
Your drink, ma'am.
Old Badge Berkeley rolled up yet.
What did you say?
Badge Berkeley. He wrote me in for his show. When is he coming?
I don't think he is coming. Nobody of the name Berkeley.
The dirty old double-crosser. He's let me down. Well, it's a pretty wizard island. Rather, wizard girl, that secretary. She ought to liven things up a bit. I say, old man, what about dressing for dinner this time?
Let's go and explore.
How wizard?
Things are a bit sixes and sevens with the Owens not showing up.
Tricky. I say, wizard place for a holiday.
Aren't you going to sit down?
Well, to tell you the truth, you seem to be in my chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were one of the family.
Well, it's not that exactly. To tell you the truth, I've never been here before, but you see, I live at the Benton Club, for the past 10 years, and my seat is just about there. Can't get used to sitting anywhere else.
Becomes a bit of a habit, doesn't it?
Ah, yes. Yes, it most certainly does. Thank you. Well, it's not as good as the clubs, but it's a nice chair. To tell you the truth, I was a bit surprised when I received this invitation. Haven't had anything of the sort for well over 4 years. Very nice of them, I thought.
Can I have your keys, madam?
Is Lady Constance Scarmington coming down here? Can you tell me?
Lady Constance Gormington? I don't think so, madam. Unless she's coming down with Mr. and Mrs. O. Allow me, sir. Can I have your keys, sir?
No, thank you. I will unpack for myself.
Dinner is at 8 o'clock, sir. Shall I show you to your room?
Ah, yes, please.
I will call Rogers.
How are you? Davis? Davis is the name.
Mine's Armstrong.
Dr. Armstrong, I believe.
Yes.
Thought so. Never forget a fact.
Don't tell me I've forgotten one of my patients.
No. Once I saw you in a court, giving expert evidence.
Oh, really? Are you interested in the law then?
Well, you see, I'm from South Africa. Naturally, legal processes in this country are bound to interest the colonial.
Yes, of course.
Have a drink?
No, thank you. I never touch it.
Do you mind if I do? Mine is empty.
Not a bit.
You know, I have been having a look around the island. It's a wonderful place, isn't it?
Wonderful. I thought as I was coming across the mainland what a haven of peace this was.
Too peaceful for some, I dare say.
Wonderfully restful. Wonderful for the nerves. I'm a nerve specialist, you know.
Yes, I know that. Did you come down by train?
No, I motored down. I dropped in on a patient on the way. Wonderful improvement, great response.
Best part of the 200 miles, isn't it? How long did it take you?
I didn't hurry, or I never hurry. Some mannerless young fellow nearly drove me into a ditch near Amesbury. Disgraceful bit of driving. Shot past me at about 60 miles an hour. I wish I'd gotten his number.
Yes, and if only more people would take the numbers of these young roadhogs.
Yes, now, you must excuse me. I must have a word with Mr. Owen.
Oh, but Mr. Owen isn't coming down.
You rang, sir?
Yes, we'll take my hat with you. Oh, what time, supper?
Dinner is at 8 o'clock, sir. In a quarter of an hour. I think tonight dressing will be optional.
Got a good place here.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Been here long?
Just under a week, sir.
Is that all? So I don't suppose you know much about this crowd that's here?
No, sir.
All friends of the family?
I really can't say, sir.
Oh, wow. Oh, Rogers. Rogers, do you think you can put some sandwiches and a bottle of a beer in my room at night? I got a hell of an appetite with the sea air.
I'll see what I can do, sir.
Rogers, I will see you won't lose by it. And actually, where's my room?
I'll show you, sir.
Good. I can do with a wash and brush up straight away.
Oh, there you are, Rogers. You go clear those dirty glasses. You always leave the dirty work to me. Here I am with a four-course dinner on my hands and no one to help me. You might at least help me with dishing up later. Who was it you were talking to, by the way?
Ah, Davis, South African gentleman. No class, if you ask me. No money either.
Well, I don't like him. I don't like any of them much. More like that lot we had at the boarding house, I'd say.
Davis gives out he's a millionaire or something. You should see his underwear, cheap as they make them.
Well, as I said before, Rogers, it's not treating us right. All these guests arriving today and no maids till the morning. Who do they think we are?
Well, anyway, the money's good.
So it ought to be. Catch me going into service, the money was no good.
Well, it is good, so what are you going on about?
Well, Rogers, I can tell you this. I'm not staying any place where I'm put upon. I'm a good cook. Cooking is my business.
First rate, old
The
girl.
kitchen's my place and housework is none of my business. I've got a good mind to put my hat and coat on and go straight back to Plymouth.
Well, you can't do that, old girl.
Why is that, I would like to know?
Because you're on an island, have you forgotten that?
Well, I don't know if I like being on an island.
Don't know that I do either. Come to that. No slipping down to a pub or going to the pictures. Well, it's double wages on account of the difficulties, and there's plenty of beer in the house.
Well, that's all you ever think about, beer.
Stop your nagging and get back to the kitchen or your dinner will be spoiled.
Well, it'll be spoiled anyway, I expect. Everybody's going to be late. Thank goodness I didn't make souffle. Oh, miss, dinner won't be a matter of dishing up, don't worry.
Is everything all right, Rogers? Can you manage between the two of you?
Yes, thank you, miss. The missus talks a lot, but she gets it done.
What a beautiful evening.
Yes, indeed, the weather seems rather settled.
How plainly one can hear the sea.
A wonderful sound.
Hardly a breath of wind and wonderfully restful. It's not like England at all.
I should have thought you might feel a little uncomfortable in the dress.
Oh, no.
It's rather tight, isn't it?
I don't think so.
You'll excuse me, my dear, but you're a young girl, and you've got your living to earn.
Yes.
A well-bred woman like Miss Owen doesn't like her secretary to appear flashy. It looks, you know, as though you were trying to attract the attention of the opposite sex.
And would you say I do attract them?
That's beside the point. A girl who deliberately sets out to get the attention of men won't be likely to keep her job long.
Well, that depends on who she's working for.
Really, Miss Clayton?
Are you being a little unkind?
Young people nowadays behave in the most disgusting fashion.
Disgusting.
Yes. Low-back evening dresses. Laying half-naked on beaches. All this so-called sunbathing. An excuse for evil conduct, nothing more. Familiarity. Christian names. Drinking cocktails. And look at the young men nowadays. Decadent. Look at the young Marston. What good is he? And Captain Lombard.
What do you object to in Captain Lombard? I'd say he's a man who led a very varied and interesting life.
The man's an adventurer. This younger generation is no good. No good at all.
You don't like youth? I see.
What do you mean?
I was just remarking that you don't like young people.
And is there any reason why I should? Pray.
Well, I just think you must miss out on a lot.
You're very impertinent.
I'm sorry, that's just what I think.
This world will never improve until we stamp out immodesty.
Quite pathological.
What did you say?
Nothing.
What about the old gal?
She looks rather like a turtle, don't you think so?
Old judges look like turtles. They have that venomous way of darting their heads in and out, and this Justice Wargrave is no exception.
I hadn't realized she was a judge.
Oh yes, she's probably responsible for more innocent deaths than all of England. Hello, you. Have you two met each other? Miss Claythorne, Miss Armstrong. Armstrong and I were just talking about how the judge looks like.
I heard you, and so did she, I think.
Oh, Dame Judith,
Miss Brent, is it?
there's something I would like to ask you. Will you come out here, please?
Of course. What a splendid night is it?
Absolutely wizard car. A supercharged sports Verletti Carlota. You don't see many of them on the road. I can get over 100 out of her.
Sweet. Did you come from London?
Yes, 208 miles, and I did it in a bit over 4 hours. Too many cars on the road though. Keep it up. Touched 90 going over Salisbury Plain. Not too bad, huh?
I think you passed me on the road.
Oh, yes?
You nearly drove me into the ditch.
Did I? Sorry.
If I'd gotten your number, I'd have reported it.
But you were footling along in the middle of the road.
Footling? Me? Footling?
Please! What about the drink? Come
Good
on.
idea. Will you have one, Miss Claythorne?
No, thank you.
Good evening, Mrs. Owen.
Mrs. Owen? What do you mean?
Well, you make an attractive wife for any wealthy businessman to have.
Do you always flirt so outrageously?
Always.
Now we know.
Say, who was old Miss Brent talking to the judge? You nearly tried to buttonhole her upstairs.
I don't know, it was so strange. She just seemed so definite that there wasn't a Mr. Owen.
You don't think that they have, like, that they're...
Oh, not married, you mean?
Damn shame we don't know each other. I could have given you a lift down.
Yes, that would have been
Like to
bad.
show you what I can do across Salisbury Plain. Tell you what, maybe we can drive back together?
But
But it seems damn silly. I've got an empty car.
Yes, but I think she likes the way she's going, and that it would obviously...
Look! Aren't they sweet? 10 little China boys. And there's the old nursery rhyme.
What are you talking about? What soldier boys? What nursery rhyme?
10 little soldier boys went out to die. One choked his little self, and then there were 9. 9 little soldier boys sat up very late. One overslept himself, and then there were 8.
8 little soldier boys traveling in Devon. One got left behind, and then there were 7.
Ladies and gentlemen, silence please. You are charged with these indictments, that you did respectively at the diverse times commit the following. Eleanor Armstrong, that you did cause the death of Louisa Mary Cleves. William Henry Bloor, that you brought about the death of James Stephen Landover. Emily Caroline Brent, that you were responsible for the death of Beatrice Taylor. Vera Elizabeth Claythorne, that you killed Peter Ogilvy Hamilton. Philip Lombard, that you were guilty of the deaths of 21 men, members of an East African tribe. John Gordon Mackenzie, that you sent your wife's lover, Arthur Richmond, to his death. Anthony James Marston, that you were guilty of the murder of John and Lucy Combs. Thomas Rogers and Ethel Rogers, that you brought about the death of Jennifer Brady. Judith Wargrave, that you were guilty of the murder of Edward Seaton. Prisoners at the bar, have you anything to say in your defense?
What was it? Oh my God! Be careful! Be careful!
Get her on the couch.
Be careful! What happened to her? Is she all right?
Oh, it's nothing much. She's just fainted is all. She'll be around in a second. Get her some brandy.
Why are you standing here? Get some brandy!
What was that voice? It sounded.
What kind of practical joke was that? What was that?
Where the hell did that noise come from?
Heartless and distasteful joke. Do you think it's a joke, do you? What else could it be? At the moment, I'm not prepared to give an opinion.
Who the hell turned it on though? And set it going?
That is precisely what we must inquire into.
Come on, little Brandy. It's all right.
Allow me, madam. If I speak to her, that's all. It's all right, that's all. Just pull yourself together.
Oh dear.
It'll be all right now, Miss Rogers. It was just a nasty turn.
Yes, did I faint?
Yes.
Oh dear, it was the voice. It was like an awful judgment. Oh.
Get her the brandy. Drink this, Mrs. Rogers.
I'm all right now. It was just a turn.
Of course it was. It gave me a turn too. Wicked lies it was. I'd like to know.
I'd like to know who was it that put the record on the gramophone? Was it you, Rogers?
I was just obeying the orders, ma'am.
Whose orders?
Mr. Owen's.
Let me get this quite clear. Mr. Owen's orders were what exactly?
I was to put a record on the gramophone in the study. I'd find it in one of the drawers in there. I was to start with that one.
Remarkable story.
It's the truth. Ma'am, before heavens, it's the truth. I didn't know what it was. Not for a moment. It had a name on it. I thought it was just a piece of music.
Is there a title?
Title? Yes, here it is. It's called Swan Song.
This whole thing is preposterous. Preposterous! Swinging accusations about like that! This fellow Owen. Something must be done about it, and he, whoever he is...
That's just it!
Who is he?
That is precisely what we must go into very carefully. Now then, Rogers, I suggest you get your wife into bed, then come back here.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll give you a hand.
Will she be all right, Doctor? Yes, quite all right.
I don't know about you, ma'am, but I feel I need another drink.
I agree.
I'll get them.
Preposterous. Whole thing preposterous.
Whiskey for you, Dame Judy.
I should like to have a glass of water.
Yes, I'll bring it to you. Have some whiskey too.
She'll be all right. I've given her a sedative.
Now then, doctor, you want a drink after all this?
No, thank you. I never touch it.
Ah, so you said. You have this one, General?
Now then, Rogers, tell me what you know about Mr. Owen.
He owns this place, ma'am.
I've gathered that. What I want you is to tell me what you yourself know about the man.
I really can't say, ma'am. You see, I've never seen him.
What do you mean you've never seen him?
We've only just been here under a week, sir. My wife and I. We were engaged through a letter coming through registry office, the Regina in Plymouth.
That's a high-class firm. We can check on that.
Do you have that letter?
The letter engaging us. Yes, ma'am. Here it is.
Go on with your story.
We arrived here, like the letter says, on the 4th. Everything was in order, plenty of food in stock, and everything very nice. Just needed dusting and that.
What next?
Nothing, ma'am. That is, we got the orders to prepare the rooms for a house party. 8. And then yesterday, by the morning close, we received another letter saying that Mr. and Mrs. Owen might be detained, and if so, we was to do our best. And it gave the instructions about the dinner and setting up the gramophone record. Here it is, ma'am.
It's headed Ritz Hotel and typewritten.
Coronation machine number 5. Quite new, no defects. Inside paper. Most common make. We shan't get much out of this. We might try for fingerprints, but it's been already handled too much.
Quite a little detective.
He's got some fancy Christian names. Alec, Norman, Owen. Quite a mouthful.
I am obliged to you, Mr. Marston. You have drawn my attention to a curious and suggestive point. I think the time has come for all of us to pool our information. I think it would be well for everybody to come forward with any information they have regarding our unknown host. We're all his guests, after all. I believe it would be profitable for all of us to explain exactly how that came about.
There's something very peculiar about all this. I received a letter with a signature that was not very easy to read. It purported to be from a woman I've met 2 or 3 years ago at a certain summer resort. I took the name to be Ogden. I'm certain that I have never met or became friendly with anyone of the name of Owen.
Have you kept the letter, Miss Brent?
Yes, I will fetch it for you.
Thank you. Miss Claythorne.
I never actually met Mrs. Owen. I applied to a holiday post for a secretarial agency, Miss Grenfield's, in London. And I was offered this post, and I applied.
You were never interviewed by your prospective employer?
No, I have the letter here.
Soldier Island, Sticklehaven, Devon. I have received your name from Miss Grenfell's agency. I understand she knows you personally. I shall be glad to pay you the salary you ask and shall expect you to take up your duties on August 8th. The train is at 12:10 from Paddington and you will be met at Oak Bridge Station. I enclose £5 for expenses. Yours truly, Una Nancy Owen. Mr. Marston?
Don't actually know the Owens. Got a wire from a pal of mine, Badge Berkeley. Told me to roll up here. Surprised me because I had an idea the old horse had gone to Norway. Haven't kept the wire.
Dr. Armstrong.
In the circumstances, I think I may admit that my visit here was professional. Mr. Owen wrote me, worried about his wife's health, her nerves to be precise. He wanted a report without her seeming worried. He therefore suggested that my visit here should be regarded as that of an ordinary guest.
And you had no previous acquaintance with the family?
No.
And yet you had no hesitation in obeying the summons?
A colleague of mine was mentioned, and a handsome fee was suggested. I was due for a holiday anyway.
Dear Miss Brent, I do hope you remember me. We were together at Belhaven Guest House in August some years ago, and we seem to have so much in common. I am starting a guest house of my own on an island of the coast of Devon. I think there really is an opening for a place where there is good plain English cooking and a nice old-fashioned type of person. None of this nudity and gramophones half the night. I shall be very glad if you could see your way to spending your summer holiday on Soldier Island as my guest, of course. I suggest August 8th, 12:40 from Paddington to Oak Bridge. Yours sincerely, UN. Yes, the signature is quite ambiguous.
You like the nudity touch?
Here is my own decoy letter. It is addressed from my dear friend, Lady Constance Calmington. She writes in her usual way and coherent way, and urges me to join her here. She refers to her host and hostess in the vaguest of terms.
See here, I just thought of something.
In a minute.
But
We will take one thing at a time, Mr. Lombard, if you don't mind. Captain General Mackenzie.
I got the letter from this fellow, Owen. Thought I met him sometime at the club. He mentioned some old cronies of mine and hoped I'd excuse the informal invitation. But I haven't kept the letter, I'm afraid.
And Captain Lombard?
same sort of thing. Letter mentioning mutual acquaintances. I haven't kept the letter either.
Well, just now we had a somewhat disturbing experience. An apparently disembodied voice spoke to us, addressed us all by name, and said certain accusations. I will get to those accusations presently. For now, I'm interested in a minor point. You see, amongst the names mentioned was that of William Henry Blore. However, as far as we know, there is no one named Blore amongst us. The name of Davis was not mentioned. What have you to say about that, Mr. Davis?
Well, it's out of the bag it seems. I would better admit my name isn't Davis.
So you are William Henry Blore?
That's right, ma'am.
I will add something to that. Not only is Mr. Blore here under a false name, I've noticed this evening that Mr. Blore is a first-class liar. He claims to come from Natal, South Africa. I know South Africa and Natal very well. I'm prepared to swear he never set foot there in his life.
You gentlemen have got me wrong. I'm an ex-CID man. A cop! I've got my credentials and I can prove it. I run a detective agency in Plymouth. I was put onto this job.
By whom?
Why, Mr. Owen said a very nice money ordered for expenses and said I was to join the house party posing as guest. He also sent a list of all your names and said I was to keep an eye on you all.
Any reason given?
Said Mrs. Owen had got some valuable jewels. Oh, Mrs. Owen, my foot, I don't believe there is any such a person.
Your conclusions are, I believe, justified. You like Norman Owen, Una Nancy Owen. Each time, that is to say, you and Owen. Or, by a slight stretch of fancy, unknown.
But that's fantastic. That's mad.
Oh yes, I have no doubt in my mind that we have been invited by a madman. Possibly a dangerous homicidal lunatic.
Oh my god.
Whoever it is, they have taken a great trouble to find a great deal of information about us. Very great deal indeed. With this information regarding us, they have said certain definite accusations.
No one to tell
I wish to say this. Our unknown host accuses me of the murder of one Edward Seaton. I remember Seaton perfectly well. He came up before me for trial in June in 1930. He was charged with the death of an elderly woman. He was very ably defended and made a good impression on the jury in the witness box. Nevertheless, upon the evidence, he was certainly guilty. I summed up accordingly, and the jury brought in the verdict of guilty. The appeal was lodged on the grounds of misdirection. The appeal was dismissed, and the man was duly executed. In passing the sentence of death, I fully concurred with the verdict brought in by the jury. I wish to say this. My conscience on the matter is perfectly clear. I did my duty and nothing more. I passed a sentence on a convicted murderer.
Did you know Seaton at all? I mean, personally.
I knew nothing of Seaton prior to the trial.
She's lying. I swear she's lying.
Anyway, that's fellow's a madman. An absolute madman! Got a bee in his bonnet. Got hold of the wrong end of this thing. All right. But really to leave these kind of things unanswered. However, feel I ought to say that no truth whatsoever in what he said about the young Archer Richmond. Richmond was one of my officers. I sent him on reconnaissance in 1917. He was killed. Also, would like to say that resent very much slaring my wife. She's been dead a long time now. Best woman in the world. Absolutely a saint.
I've just been thinking, John and Lucy Combs? Must have been a couple of kids I ran over near Cambridge. Beastly bad luck.
Speeding is not for them or for you?
Well, I was thinking, for me. But of course, you're right, ma'am. It was damn bad luck for them too. Of course, it was pure accident. They left out of some cottage or other. I had my license suspended for a year. Beastly nuisance.
Speeding is all wrong. All wrong. Young men like you are a danger to this community.
Oh, nothing I could have done. Just an accident.
Might I say a word, sir?
Go ahead, Rogers.
There was a mention, sir, of me and Mrs. Rogers and Miss Jennifer Brady. There isn't a single word of truth in it. We were with Miss Brady when she died, yes, sir. She was always in poor health, always, from the day that we came to her. There was a storm, sir, the night she died. The telephone was out of order. We couldn't get the doctor to her. I went out there, on foot, to get him. But he got there too late. We'd done everything possible for her, sir. Devoted to her, we were. Anyone would tell you the same. There was never a word said against us. Never a word.
Came into nice little something at her death, I suppose, didn't you?
Miss Brady left us a legacy in recognition of our faithful service. And why not, I'd like to know.
What about yourself, Mr. Bloor?
What about me?
Well, your name was on the list.
Oh, I know. Landry, you mean? It was the London Commercial Bank robbery.
I remember that name, though it didn't come before me. Lander was convicted on your evidence. You were the lead police officer in charge of the case.
I was, ma'am.
Lander got penal servitude, and then he died a year later in Dartmoor. He was a delicate man.
He was a crook. He was the one who killed the night watchman. That case was clear from the start.
And you were complimented on your able handling of the case, I believe.
Got my promotion. I was only doing my duty.
Convenient word, duty. What about yourself, Doctor?
I'm truly at a loss to understand this matter. The name means nothing to me. What was it? Close? Close? I really don't remember having a patient of that name. Or it's being connected to death in any way. The thing's a complete mystery to me. Of course, it could be one of the operation cases at the hospital. They come so late, so many of these people. And then, when the patient dies, it's always the surgeon's fault.
And then it's better to take up nurse surgery and give up surgery. Some of us, of course, give up drink.
I protest. You have no right to insinuate such a thing. I never touch alcohol.
My dear lady, I never implied you did. All I'm saying is that Mr. Unknown Owen is the one with all the facts.
Miss Claythorne,
I was nursery governess to Peter Hamilton. We were in Cornwall for the summer. It was forbidden to swim out far. And one day when my attention was distracted, he started off. As soon as I saw what happened, I swam after him. I couldn't get there in time.
Was there an inquest?
Yes, I was exonerated by the coroner. His mother didn't blame me either.
Thank you. Miss Brent?
I have nothing to say.
Nothing.
Nothing.
You reserve your defense?
There is no question of defense. I have always acted according to the dictates of my conscience.
What a law-abiding lot we seem to be. Myself exempted.
We're all waiting for your story, Captain Lombard.
I haven't got a story.
What do you mean?
I'm sorry to disappoint you all, but it's perfectly true. I plead guilty. I left those natives to die in the bush. Matter of self-preservation.
You've abandoned your men!
Not the act of a proper gentleman, I'm afraid, but self-preservation is a man's first duty. The natives don't mind dying. They don't care about it the same way we Europeans do.
Our inquiry rests there. Now then, Rogers, tell me, is there anyone else on this island except for us and you and your wife?
Nobody, ma'am. Nobody at all.
No one?
No, ma'am.
Well, I am not yet clear on what's going on here. Thank you, Rogers. However, I believe that our host may not be sane in the accepted sense of the word. He may be dangerous. I think we should leave as soon as possible. I believe we should leave here today.
I beg your pardon, ma'am, but there's no boat on the island.
No boat?
No, ma'am.
Can we call the mainland?
There's no telephone either. Fred Nericott comes down every morning. He brings fresh milk, bread, papers, and he takes the orders.
Without supporting her, I have to ferret out the mystery before we go. Whole thing's like a detective story. Positively thrilling.
At my time of life, Mr. Marston, I've no desire for thrills.
The legalized narrowing. I'm all for crime. Here's to it.
Oh my god, what happened to her?
My God! He's dead! Dead? Do you mean the fellow just choked and died?
You can call it choking if you like. He died of asphyxiation right enough.
Never knew a man could die like that. Just of a choking fit.
In the middle of life, we are all in death.
A man doesn't die of a mere choking fit, General Mackenzie. Marston's death isn't what we could call a natural death. Did you mean there was something in the alcohol? By the smell of it, cyanide. Probably potassium cyanide. Acts pretty well instantaneously.
Then he must have put it there himself.
Suicide? That's a wrong go.
But you'd never think he committed suicide. He was so alive. He was enjoying himself.
Look! Here's one of the soldiers of the mantelpiece. Broken.
We've been up to the top. No sign of the boat yet. It's very early still.
Oh, I know. Still the fellow brings the milk and the bread and all that. I should have thought you'd have got here before this. No sign of breakfast yet. Where's that fellow, Rogers?
Let's Let's not bother about breakfast.
How's the weather looking?
Well, the wind has freshened a bit, but rather mackerel sky. Old boy in the train yesterday said we were due for dirty weather. Shouldn't wonder if he wasn't right.
You wish that boat would come. The sooner we get off this island, the better. It's absurd not keeping a boat on an island.
No proper harbor. If the wind comes to blow from the southeast, the boat would get dashed to pieces against the rocks.
But the boat would always be able to make us to the mainland.
No, Miss Brent, that's just what it wouldn't.
You're saying we should be cut off from the land.
Yes, condensed milk, Rivita and thin stuff till the gale has blown itself out. But you needn't worry, the seas only be choppy.
The pleasures of living on an island are rather overrated. I wonder if that boat even is coming. It's annoying the way the house is built slap up against the cliff. You can't see the mainland until you've been to the very top. Should we go up there again?
It's no good, Doctor. Watch pot never boils. There wasn't a sign of a boat putting out when we were up there just now.
What can this man Narracod even be doing?
They are all like in Devon. Never hurry themselves.
And what about Rogers? He ought to be about.
If you ask me, Master Rogers was pretty badly rattled last night, don't you think?
I know. Ghastly, the whole thing.
Gotta wind up properly. I will take even a bet that he and his wife did do that old lady in.
You really think so?
Well, I never saw a man more scared. Guilty as hell, I should say.
Fantastic. The whole thing is fantastic.
Suppose he's hopped it.
How could he have hopped it? There is no boat on the island, you just said so.
Yes, but I've been thinking. We have only Roger's word for that. Suppose there is one, and he's nipped off in it the first thing.
Oh, no, he wouldn't be allowed to leave the island.
Sleep well, General?
I dreamt. Yes, I dreamt.
I do not wonder at that.
I dreamt of Leslie, my wife, you know.
Oh, yes. I wish that man Narracod would come.
Who is Narracod?
The bloke who brought us over yesterday afternoon.
Was it only yesterday?
Yes, I feel like that too. Buried gramophone records, suicides. It's all about a man can stand. I shan't be sorry to see the back of a soldier, and I give you my word.
So you don't understand? How strange.
What's that, General?
I don't like the look of him.
Oh, I reckon young Marston's suicide must have been a pretty bad shock to him. Look at him. He looks years old.
Where is that poor young fellow now?
In the study. Put him there myself.
Doctor, I suppose it was suicide?
What else could it be?
I don't know, but suicide?
You know, I had a pretty funny feeling in the night. This Mr. Unknown Owen. Suppose he's on the island.
Rogers may know.
Or he may have told him to say so. Pretty nasty thought, isn't it?
And how could anyone tamper with Marston's drink without any of us seeing it?
Well, he was standing up there. Anyone could have slipped a dollop of cyanide in it if they would want to.
Oh, there you are, madam. I've been looking all over the island for you. Could you please come up and take a look at my wife?
Yes, is she feeling under the weather still?
She's...
What? You won't leave the island without me. Oh, I wish the boat would come. I hate this place.
Yes, the sooner we can get in touch with the police, the better.
The police?
Yes, Miss Claythorne? The police needs to be notified in the case of suicide.
Oh, yes. Suicide.
What's going on here? No sign of any breakfast.
Are you hungry, General?
Feeling like breakfast?
Leslie, my dear.
No. There, Claythorne.
Yes, forgive me. I took you for my wife.
Oh.
I was waiting for her, you see.
But I thought your wife was dead.
Yes, I thought so too, but I was wrong. She's here, on this island.
Good morning.
Good morning, Captain Lombard.
Good morning. Seem to have overslept myself. Boat here yet?
Unfortunately, no.
Good morning, you. You could have had a nice swim before breakfast. About all this.
Too bad you overslept yourself.
You must have a good nerves to sleep like that.
Nothing makes me lose my sleep.
Didn't dream of African natives by any chance, did you?
No. Did you dream of convicts on Dartmoor?
Look here. Don't think it's funny, Captain Lombard.
Well, you started it. Anyway, I'm hungry. What's for breakfast?
Whole domestic stuff seems to have gone on strike.
We can all forage for ourselves.
Oh, that's strange.
What is?
You remember how we found one of these fellows smashed last night?
Yes, that ought to leave 9.
That ought to leave 9, but I'm sure there were 10 of them when we arrived.
Well?
There's only 8.
So there are.
I think that's queer, don't you?
Probably only 9 to begin with. We only assumed there were 10 because of the rhyme. Hello, Armstrong. What's the matter?
Mrs. Rogers is dead.
What?
How?
She died in her sleep. Rogers thought she was still under the influence of the sleeping draught I gave her and came down without disturbing her. He lit the kitchen fire and did this room. Then, as she hadn't appeared, he went up, was alarmed by the look of her, and went looking for me. She's been dead about 5 hours, I should say.
What was it? Heart?
Impossible to say, it may have been.
After all, she had a pretty bad shock last night.
Yes.
She could have been poisoned, I suppose.
It's entirely possible.
With the same stuff as young Marston?
No, not cyanide. It would have to have been some sort of narcotic or hypnotic. One of the barbiturates or chloral. Something like that.
You gave her some sleeping powders last night, didn't you?
Yes. I gave her a mild dose of luminol.
Didn't give her too much, did you?
Certainly not. What do you mean by that?
Right, no offense, no offense. I just thought that perhaps if she had a weak heart.
The amount I gave her wouldn't have hurt anyone.
What exactly did happen?
Impossible to say without an autopsy.
If this death had occurred in one of your private patients, what would your procedure be?
Without the knowledge of the woman's previous state of health, I could certainly not give a certificate.
Well, she was a very nervous-looking creature. She had a bad fright last night. Perhaps it was just heart failure.
Her heart certainly did fail to beat. But what caused it to fail? Conscience! What exactly do you mean by that, Miss Brent?
You all had. She was accused, together with her husband, of having deliberately murdered her former employer, an old lady.
And you believe that's true, Miss Brent?
Certainly. You all saw her last night. She broke down completely and fainted. Having her wickedness brought home to her was just too much for her. She literally died out of fear.
It is a possible theory. One, of course, cannot adopt it without the exact knowledge of the previous state of health. If there was a latent cardiac weakness...
Call it, if you prefer, an act of God.
Oh no, Miss Brent. Oh no.
You regard it as impossible that a sinner should be struck down by the wrath of God. I do not.
Dear Miss Brent, in all my experience of ill-doing, Providence leaves the work of conviction and chastisements to us mortals. And the process is often fraught with difficulties. There are no shortcuts.
Let's be practical. What did the woman have to eat and drink last night after she went to bed?
Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing at all? Not a cup of tea or a glass of water? I will bet you she had a cup of tea. That sort always does.
Rogers assures me she had nothing whatsoever.
Ah, Rogers. He might say so.
So that's your idea.
Well, why not? You heard that accusation last night. What if it's true? Is Brent thinking it's for one? Rogers and his wife did the old lady in. They are feeling quite safe and happy about it.
Happy.
Well, they know there is no immediate danger to them. Then, last night, some lunatic goes and spills the beans. What happens? It's the woman cracks, goes to pieces. Did you see him hang around her when she was coming to? Not all husbandly solicitude. Not on your sweet life. He was like a cat on hot bricks. And that's the position. They have done a murder and got away with it. And if it's all going to be rocked up again now, it's the woman who will give the show away. She hadn't got the nerve to brazen it out. She's a living danger to her husband. That's what she is. And him? He's alright. He will go on lying till the cows come home. But he can't be sure of her. So what does he do? He drops a nice little dollop of something into a nice cup of tea. And when she's had it, he washes up the cup and saucer and tells the doctor she ain't had nothing.
But that's not possible. A man wouldn't do that, not to his wife.
You would be surprised, Miss Clayton, what some husbands would do.
Excuse me, miss. I am getting on with breakfast. I'm not much of a hand as a cook, I'm afraid. It's lunch that's worrying me. Would cold tongue and gelatin be satisfactory? And maybe I could manage some fried potatoes, and then there's tinned fruit and cheese and biscuits.
Yes, that will be all right, Rogers. Thank you.
Lunch! Lunch? We shan't be here for lunch. And when the hell the boat is coming?
Mr. Blow!
What?
You have to pardon me, sir, but the boat is not coming.
What?
Fred Nercott's always here before 8. Is there anything else you require, miss?
No, thank you, Rogers.
And it's not Rogers. His wife lying dead upstairs, and then he hears
Cooking breakfast and calmly talking about lunch. Now he says the boat won't be coming. How the hell does he know?
Mr. Blow!
What?
Oh, don't you see? He's dazed. He's just carrying on automatically like a good servant would. It's pathetic, really.
He's pulling a fast one, if you ask me.
The really significant thing is the failure of the boat to arrive. It means we're being deliberately cut off from land.
That's very little time. Very little time.
What's that, General?
Very little time. We mustn't waste it talking about things that don't matter.
Why do you suppose Narracott hasn't shown up?
I think the ubiquitous Mr. Owen has given orders.
You mean told him it's a practical joke or something?
He will never fall for that.
Why not? Soldier Allen's got a pretty big reputation for throwing crazy parties. It's just another crazy idea, that's all. Narracott knows there's plenty of food, plenty of drink on the island. To him, it's all just one big joke.
Couldn't we light a fire on the top of the island so that they would see us?
It's probably been provided against. All signals are to be ignored. We're cut off, all right?
Can't we do something?
Oh yes, we can do something. We can find this funny little gentleman that staged this entire joke, Mr. Unknown Owen. I bet you anything he's somewhere here on the island, and the sooner we find him, the better. Because if you ask me, He's as mad as a hatter and as dangerous as a rattlesnake.
That's hardly a good simile, Captain Lombard. A rattlesnake gives a warning of its approach.
Warning. My God. Yes, that's our warning. 10 little soldier boys. There were 10 of them when Aracod went, weren't there? 10 little soldier boys went out to dine. One choked his little self. Marston choked himself. 9 little soldiers slept up very late. One overslept himself. That fits Mrs. Rogers rather well, doesn't it?
Do you think that he wants to kill us all?
I think he does.
And each one fits with the rhyme. No, it's a coincidence. It must be a coincidence.
There are 8 little soldier boys left. I suppose that's a coincidence too. What do you think, Lord?
Don't like it.
But there's no boat on the island.
I'm not so sure of that.
This is terrible.
None of us will ever leave this island.
Somebody shut up, Grandpa!
Don't you agree with me, Dame Judith?
To a certain point, yes.
Yes, the sooner we find them, the better. Armstrong, Lord, with me. We'll make short work of this.
I'm ready. Nobody's got a revolver by any chance. I suppose that's too much to hope for.
I got one.
Always carry that about with you.
Usually. Been in some tight places before.
Well, you have probably never been in a tighter place than you are today. If there is a homicidal maniac hiding on this island, he will probably get a whole arsenal on him, and he will use it.
You may be wrong there, Mr. Blore. Many homicidal maniacs are quiet, unassuming people.
Yes, delightful fellows.
You wouldn't guess there was anything wrong with them.
If Mr. Owen turns out to be one of that kind, we will leave him to you, Doctor. Now then, let's make a start. I suggest Captain Lombard searches the house while we do the island.
Right. House ought to be easy. No secret doors or sliding panels.
Mind he doesn't get you before you get him.
Don't worry about me, but you two better stick together. Remember, one got left behind.
Come on, Armstrong, let's go.
Energetic young man, Captain Lombard.
Don't you think he's right? If there's somebody on the island, they're bound to find him. It's practically bare rock.
I think this problem requires brains rather than brawn to solve it, my dear young lady.
Well, where are you going?
I'm going to sit outside in the sun and think.
Where did I put the skin of wool?
Did you leave it upstairs? Should I go get it for you?
No, I'll go. I know where it's most likely to be.
I'm glad Captain Lombard has got a revolver.
They're all wasting time. Wasting time.
Do you really think so?
Yes. It's much better to sit quietly and wait.
Wait. Wait for what?
For the end, of course. I wish I could find my Leslie.
Your wife?
Huh? Yes. I wish you knew her. She was so pretty and so kind.
Was she?
Yes. I loved her very much. Of course, I was much older than she was. She was only 27. Arthur Richmond was 26. Leslie liked him. They used to talk of music and plays. She teased him and made fun of him. I I was pleased. I thought she'd taken a motherly interest in the boy. Damn fool, wasn't I? No fool like an old fool. Exactly like a book, the way I found out. When I was out in France, she wrote to both of us and put the letters in the wrong envelopes, so I knew.
No.
It's all right, my darling. It's been a long time now. But you see, I loved her very much, and I believed in her. Didn't say anything to him. I let it all gather inside. Here, a slow and murderous rage that... Damn you, hypocrite! I trusted the boy. I liked him.
I wonder what the others are doing.
I sent him to his death.
Oh.
It was quite easy. Yes, it was quite easy. Mistakes were being made all the time, but then all anybody could say is that I've lost my temper a bit, made a blunder, sacrificed one of my best soldiers. Yes, it was quite easy. Leslie. Ah, my dear Leslie, she never knew. I never told her I found out. We went on as normal, but nothing was quite real anymore. She died of pneumonia. She had a heart-shaped face and gray eyes and brown hair that curled.
Don't.
Yes, I suppose it was murder. Curious murder. I've always been such a law-abiding man, but it didn't feel like that at the time. Certain them were right is what I thought, but after, well, you know, don't you?
What do you mean?
You don't seem to understand. I thought you would. I thought you'd too be glad that the end was coming. We're all going to die, you know.
I don't know.
You're very young. You haven't got that yet. The relief once you know you're done with it all. When you don't have to carry the burden any longer.
General.
Do not talk to me in that way! You don't understand. You don't understand. I wish to sit here and wait. Wait for my Leslie to come for me.
I'm frightened.
All correct. No secret passages. One corpse.
Don't.
Ah, you do look low. How about a drink to steady the nerves?
A drink? A drink? 2 corpses in the house at 9 o'clock in the morning, and all you can say is have a drink? An old man going quite crackers, have a drink? 10 people accused of murder. That's all right, just have a drink. Everything is fine as long as you have a drink.
All right. Stage line. Why, you do look flustered. What's wrong, my sweet?
I am not your sweet.
I'm sorry, I rather thought you were.
You can think again.
Come now. You don't really feel that way. We got something in common, you and I. Rogues and murderers can't fall out.
Rogues and murderers?
All right? You want the company of rogues and murderers, and you don't want a drink. Guess I'll just finish exploring the house.
A pleasant young man! I can't find it anywhere. Is anything the matter?
I'm just worried about the general. He really is ill, I think.
Looking out for the boat, General!
His sins have found him out.
Oh, don't!
One must face facts.
Can any of us afford to throw stones?
Even if his wife was no better than she should be, and she must have been a depraved woman, he had no right to take judgment into his own hands.
What about Beatrice Taylor?
Who?
That was the name, wasn't it?
Oh, you are referring to that absurd accusations about myself.
Yes.
Now that we are alone, I have no problem to tell you the facts of the case. Indeed, I should like you to hear them. It was not a fit subject to discuss before gentlemen, so naturally I refused to say anything last night. The girl, Beatrice Taylor, was in my service. I was very deceived in her. She had good manners and was clean and willing. I was very pleased with her. Of course, all that was sheerest hypocrisy. She was a loose girl with no morals. Disgusting. It was some time before I found out that she was what they call in trouble. It was a great shock to me. Her parents were decent folks too, who had brought her up strictly. I'm glad to say they didn't condone her behavior.
What happened?
Naturally, I refuse to keep her an hour under my roof. No one shall say I condone immorality.
Did she drown herself?
Yes.
How old was she?
17.
Only 17?
Quite old enough to know how to behave. I told her what a low, depraved thing she was. I told her she was beyond the pale, and that no decent person will ever take her into their house. I told her that her child was the child of sin and will be branded all its life, and that the man will naturally not dream of marrying her. I told her that I felt soiled by ever having her under my roof.
You told a girl of 17 all of that?
Yes, and I'm glad to say I broke her down utterly.
Poor little thing!
I have no patience with this indulgence towards sin.
And then I suppose you turned her out of the house.
Of course.
She didn't dare go home. What did you feel like when you found out she drowned herself?
Feel like?
Yes. Didn't you blame yourself?
Certainly not. I had nothing with which to reproach myself. girls unbalanced. The heathen are sung in the pit that they made. In the net which they hit is their own foot taken. The Lord is known by the judgment he executeth. The wicked is snared into the work of his own hands.
Breakfast is ready.
Be quiet! The wicked shall be turned into hell.
Do you know where the gentlemen are, miss? Breakfast is ready.
Mrs. Wargrave is sitting out there in the sun. Mr. Bloor and Dr. Armstrong went to search the island. I wouldn't worry about them.
Shall not the isles shake at the sound of the fall, when the wounded cry, when the slaughter is made in the midst of thee?
Shall we go in?
I don't feel like eating.
Breakfast is ready.
Then all the princes of the sea shall come down from their thrones and lay bare their robes and put off their broidered garments. They shall clothe themselves with trembling. They shall sit upon the ground and shall tremble at every moment and be astonished at thee.
Reading aloud, Miss Brent?
It is my custom to read a portion of Bible every day.
Very good habit, I'm sure.
Did you have any luck? There are no caves on the island. No one could hide anywhere.
That's right. What about the house, Lombard? No one. I'll stake my life there's no one in this house. I searched through it from attic to cellar.
Breakfast is getting cold.
Breakfast! Come on, Gloria, you've been yelping all about breakfast each morning. Come now. Let's eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. Or who knows, maybe even today.
You should be ashamed of such levity, Captain Lombard.
Oh, come now. General, breakfast is ready. General? One got left behind. There's a knife in Mackenzie's pack.
He's dead! He's dead!
But it can't be! Who could have done it? There is only us on the island.
Exactly, my dear sir. Don't you realize that this clever and cunning criminal is always one stage ahead of us? He always knows what we are going to do, makes his plans accordingly. There's only one place on this island where a successful murderer could hide and have any chance of getting away with it.
One place. Where?
Here in this room. Mr. Owen is one of us.
Which of us?
Oh my God. Then, Judith,
Well, Mr. Bloor,
I wanted to get you alone. You were right in what you said this morning. This damn murderer is one of us. And I think I know which one.
really?
Ever hear of the Lizzie Borden case? In America. Old couple killed with an axe in the middle of the morning. The only person who could have done it was the daughter. A respectable middle-aged spinster. Incredible. So incredible that they acquitted her. But they never found any other explanation.
So your answer to the riddle is Miss Emily Brent.
I tell you that woman is mad as a heather. Religious mad. I tell you, she's the one. And we must watch her.
Really? I thought your suspicions were in a different quarter.
Yes, but I have changed my mind, and I will tell you why. She's not scared, and she's the only one who isn't. Why? Because she knows quite well she's in no danger.
Quite certain.
Yes, she's in no danger, I tell you that.
We made
getting some coffee. Oh, it's cold in here.
Yes, and you would hardly believe it when you think what a beautiful day it was this morning.
Are Captain Lombard and Roger still out?
Yes, no boat will put down in this. And it couldn't land anyway.
Miss Brent?
Well,
You were right on insisting on lunch and drinking some brandy with it. I do feel better.
the court always adjourns for lunch.
All the same, it's just a nightmare. It seems like it can't be true. What are we going to do about this?
Miss Claythorne, you haven't got a hunch of any kind, have you?
If Miss Claythorne suspects one of the three of us, that is rather an awkward question.
No, I'm sure it isn't any of you. If you asked me who I suspected, I'd say Dr. Armstrong.
Armstrong?
Yes, because don't you see, she'd had far and away the biggest chance to kill Mrs. Rogers.
That's true. But someone else gave her brandy, remember?
That's true. Her husband did have a easy way of administering the drug.
Isn't Rogers? He wouldn't have the brains to fix all this stunt, nor the money. Besides, you can see he's scared stiff.
My God, there's something of a storm out there.
It's just you? Who did you think it was? Beatrice Taylor?
Huh? There's no hope of rescue until this dies down. That coffee. I've seen me taking up the coffee now.
Such restraint in the face of danger is nothing short of heroic.
I do not profess to be a weather prophet, but I am fairly certain that even if the storm does die down, there's no way a boat will reach us in under 24 hours, even if it does know of our plight. Even if the wind drops, the sea still has to go down.
Really wet.
Is anyone a swimmer? Would it be possible to swim to the mainland?
It's over a mile. And in this sea, you'd be dashed on the rocks and drowned.
Drowned. Drowned in the pond.
After a dinner nap?
It's quite all right, Miss Brent.
It's so cold in here.
I can light the fire if you'd like, miss.
Yes, that's a good idea, Rogers.
Solid scheme, Rogers.
Excuse me. Does anybody know what's become of the top bathroom curtain?
Really, Rogers? Are you going bats too?
The bathroom curtain?
Yes, sir. Scarlet oil silk. It's missing.
Well, has anybody seen a scarlet oil silk curtain anywhere around? Bad luck, I'm afraid, Rogers.
That doesn't matter, sir. Only I just thought that it was odd.
Everything on the island is odd.
I'll bring some sticks and a few knobs of coal and get a nice fire going.
I wonder if you would like some coffee. It was really wet. Rogers! Rogers!
What's become of Armstrong?
She's in her room.
Somebody probably battered her by now.
I would suspect she has enough wit on her to bolt the door.
It won't be so easy now that we are all on our guard.
I wouldn't be so confident, Mr. Bloor. I want to suggest shortly that we should all adopt certain safety measures.
Against whom?
Against each other. We're all in grave danger. There was 10 of us in the beginning. Now 3 are completely clear. It means there's 7 of us left. 7 little soldier boys.
Yes, one of whom is a bogus little soldier boy.
Exactly.
Well, in spite of what Miss Claythorne said just now, I would say that you, Dame Judith, and Dr. Armstrong are above suspicion. She's a well-known doctor, and you are known all over England.
That proves precisely nothing, Mr. Bloor. Judges have been known to go mad too. So have doctors. So have policemen.
Here, here. Well, does he want some coffee?
No, he'd rather make himself a nice cup of tea. What about Dr. Armstrong? Should we take her up a cup?
I will take it up if you like.
I'll take it up. I want the change.
Yes, do go and change.
I believe she might prefer to see me. She might not admit you, Captain Lombard. She might be afraid of your revolver.
Oh, that revolver! I want to word with you about it.
Do go and change.
What were you about to say?
I would like to know why you brought a revolver down here on what's supposed to be a little social visit.
You do you? Well, I've lived a rather adventurous life. Gotten into a jam once or twice, and I've gotten into the habit of carrying a revolver with me. It's a pleasant feeling, carrying a revolver, wouldn't you say?
We do not carry them. Now then, I want the truth about this gun.
What a damn suspicious fellow you are.
I know
Lord.
a fishy story when I hear one.
If it's about the revolver, I'd like to hear what he has to say too.
Well, as you know, I got a letter from Mr. and Mrs. Owen urging me to come to this place. It'd be worth my while. They said that they heard that I was a man with a reputation for being good in a tight place. Said there'd be some danger, but nothing I couldn't handle if I just kept my eyes open.
You would never have fallen for that.
Well, I did. I was bored. God, was I bored in this tame country. You must admit it was an intriguing proposition.
Too vague for my liking.
Yes, well, that was the whole charm, Lord. It aroused my curiosity.
Curiosity killed the cat.
Yes, quite.
Do go and change, please.
I will, my sweet. I will. Maternal instinct, I believe it's called.
Don't be ridiculous.
That's a tall story. If it's true, why didn't he tell it to us last night?
We must have thought this was exactly the sort of situation he'd been prepared for.
Perhaps it is.
I hardly think so. This was all just Mr. Owen's little bit of cheese to get him into the trap with the rest of us. He must have known him well enough to rely on his curiosity.
If it's true, he's a wrong one then, man. I wouldn't trust him a yard.
Are you such good judge of truth?
We must get out of here. We must before it's too late.
What we must not do is give in to the nerves.
I'm sorry. Rather a case of physician heal thyself. I've been overworked lately and run down.
Sleeping badly?
Yes. I keep dreaming. Hospital, operations, a knife at my throat.
Real nightmares.
Yes. I wonder, do you ever dream about being in court, sentencing a man to death?
I believe you're referring to the death of Edward Seaton. I assure you I should lose no sleep over Edward Seaton, a particularly brutal and cold-blooded murderer. Yes, the jury liked him. They felt compelled to let him off. I could see that. However, I cooked Seaton's goose.
Cold in here, isn't it?
I wish Rogers would come back.
Yes, where is Rogers? It's been a long time.
He went to get some sticks.
Sticks. My God, sticks!
My God!
Is there another one gone? Are there only 6?
There are only 5.
5.
Who? Rogers and Lombard?
No, not Philip.
Rogers! Rogers!
What the hell is Blore off to like a madman?
Oh, Philip!
What's going on?
The soldiers! The soldiers! There are only 2.
2?
The 2 more have gone. I thought it was you.
Well, what is it?
In the scullery!
Rogers?
Yes!
Is he?
Yes! He's dead alright!
How?
With an axe! Somebody must have come up behind. He was bent over the wood box!
One of them got chopped in half. And then there were only 6.
Vera. Vera, stop it. Please, calm down. Just sit down. It's going to be alright. She'll be alright. Well, what's next? Bees? Are there any bees on the island? Well, that's the next rhyme, isn't it? 6 little soldier boys playing with a hive, a bumblebee stung one. Bumblebee stung one. We all look pretty spry. Unless...
My God.
A hypodermic syringe!
Modern bee spit thing.
While we were in the room, one of us.
Which one of us?
Five little soldier boys sitting in a row, watching each other and waiting for the blow. New version up to date?
I hardly think this is a moment for facetiousness.
I have to relieve the gloom somehow. Damn the electric plant for going down. Let's say you play a nice little round game. Let's invent our own game. Call it Suspicions. A suspects B, B suspects C, and so on. Let's start with Blore. It's obvious who Blore suspects. You can see it from a mile. I'm your fancy, aren't I, Blore?
I wouldn't say no to that.
Well, you're quite wrong, you know. Abstract justice isn't my thing. If I had to murder somebody, there would have to be something in it for me.
All I say, you have acted suspiciously from the start. You have told 2 different stories. You came here with a revolver. Now you say you have lost it.
I have lost it.
That's a likely story.
What do you think I've done with it? I suggested myself you'd search me.
Oh, you haven't got it on you. You are too clever. But you know where it is.
You mean I cached it ready for next time?
Shouldn't be surprised.
Why don't you use your brain, Blore? If I wanted you dead, I could have just shot the lot of you. Pop, pop, pop.
Yes, but it's not the big idea.
The crazy touch. My God, I'm sane enough.
The doctor says there are some lunatics. You will never know where lunatics. That's true enough, I would say.
There's something we can do. Surely there's something we can do.
We are adopting all measures of safety possible, I would say. Adequately so.
Poor Louise. What was her name? Cleese? Was it the nerves that made you do her in? doctor.
No. Drink. I used to be a heavy drinker. God help me, I was drunk when I operated. Quite a simple operation. My hand shaking all over the place. Oh, I can remember her now. A big, heavy, countrified woman. And I killed her!
So I was right. That's how it was.
The sister knew, of course. But she was loyal to me. Or to the hospital. I gave up drink. I gave it up altogether. I went in for a study of nervous diseases. Very successfully. 1 or 2 lucky shots. Great responses with 1 or 2 imported women and their talk to their friends. For the last year or so, I've been so busy, I've hardly known which way to turn. I've got to the top of the tree.
Until Mr. Unknown opened. And down came the doctor, cradle and all.
Will you stop your game of sneering and joking? Please? We cannot afford to quarrel.
It's fine by me. I apologize.
It's this terrible inactivity that gets on my nerves. We are adopting all measures possible. As long as we stay together, within the sight of each other, a repetition of the tragedies that happened must be impossible. We have all submitted to a search, and therefore we know that no man is armed with either a firearm or a knife. We also know that no man has cyanide or any other drug on his person. Therefore, if we do as I say and stay within sight of each other, but we shall need food, we shall need sleep.
That's what I say.
Obviously, the only chance that the murderer has is to detach one of us from the rest. So long as we stay together, we are safe. Safe?
You're very silent, Vera.
There's nothing to say. I wonder what the time is. It's this awful waiting. Just waiting for the hours to go by and yet feeling like each may be our last. What's the time?
About 8:30.
It's only that?
It's pretty dim light, this. How are we on candles?
There's a whole pocket. The storm is actually dying down a bit. What do you think, man?
Murders, I suppose. I wouldn't be too optimistic. The murderer has got everything on his side. Even the weather seems to be falling in with his plans.
What about something to eat?
No, we shall stay here. We're safe here.
I can get some tongue and bring some coffee, but you four must stay here. Is that right?
Not quite, Miss Claythorne. You see, it would be inadvisable for the 4 of us to eat something you have prepared out of our sight.
Right. You don't like me, do you?
It's not a question of like or dislike.
There are very few tricks that get past you, Dame Judith. If you won't be offended at me saying so, you're my fancy.
And this time, Captain Lombard, none of us can enjoy the luxury of taking offense.
I don't think it's Blore. I may be wrong, but he doesn't have the imagination for this kind of job. If you are the murderer, I tip my hat off to you for being a damn fine actor.
Thank you for nothing.
I don't think it's the doctor. She doesn't have the nerve for it. You have plenty of nerve, Vera. On the other hand, you strike me as an eminently sane person, so if you had to murder somebody, you would have to have a thoroughly good motive.
Thank you. I've thought of something.
Splendid. Animal, vegetable, or mineral?
That man says he's a police officer, but we've no proof of that. Before that, he was claiming to be a South African billionaire. Perhaps the police officer is just another impersonation. What do we know about him? Nothing at all.
He's a police officer, all right? Just look at his feet.
That's enough from you, Mr.
And now we know where we are. By the way, Doctor, Miss Claythorne suspects you. Oh yeah, she does. Haven't you seen her shoot you a dirty look from time to time? It all works out quite prettily. I suspect Dame Judith, Blore suspects me, Armstrong suspects Blore. What about you, madam?
In the morning, I came to a certain conclusion. It seemed to me that all the events these past few hours pointed quite unmistakably to one person. I am still of that same opinion.
Which one?
Well, no. I don't think it would be good for me to tell.
Inadvisable in the public interest.
Precisely.
What about the food idea?
I already told you it's safer if we stay here.
I can't say I'm hungry.
I'm not ravenous myself. You can go and have a guzzle by yourself, Blore.
Tell you what, suppose I go and bring in a tin of biscuits?
Good idea. Oh, and Blore.
What?
An unopened tin. Just the wind making the curtains rattle.
I wonder what happened to the curtain that Rogers missed.
By the wildest stretch of the imagination, I can't imagine what a homicidal maniac would need with a scarlet oil silk curtain.
Things have been missing. Miss Brent lost a skein of knitting wool.
So the murderer, whoever he or she is a kleptomaniac too?
How does it go, 5 little soldier boys?
Going in for law, one got in chancery.
In chancery. But how could that apply? Unless, of course.
Precisely. That's why I'm sitting right here.
Ah, but I'm casting you as the role of murderer and not the victim.
The term can apply to a boxer.
Perhaps we should start a free fight. That seems to get you going, my dear.
Is this awful rhyme? It just keeps going on and on in my head. I think I'll remember it till the day I die. Mr. Blore is a long time.
I suspect the big bad wolf got him.
Captain Lombard, I've asked you once again to try and curb your unique sense of humor.
I apologize, madam. Must be a form of nervousness.
Put your hands up. Search him.
This is ridiculous.
No, thank you.
Come now, you barely had dinner.
I couldn't eat a thing.
I will warn you, Blore will wolf the lot.
I don't see why you need to be so funny about it. Starving ourselves won't do us any good. How are we off for cigarettes?
I haven't got any.
I've run out too.
I smoke pipe.
I should have a whole box upstairs. I'll go get it. I could do a cigarette myself. See that you all stay here.
What are they, cheese?
Cheese and celery!
That girl ought to have had some.
Her nerves are in a bad state.
I would disagree with you on that. She struck me as a remarkably capable and clever young woman.
So that's your idea. She's the guilty party?
Hardly likely.
Grab the candles.
Grab the candles.
Who's there?
What was that? Huh?
They'll be sorry they were ever born!
What was that? It's only me, Miss Claythorne.
Here we are! Who fired that shot?
Chancery. And there were 4.
Vera.
Miss Claythorne. No. You got me out of the way. You got me to go upstairs for the cigarettes. You had the seaweed there. You did it all so you could kill the helpless old woman in the dark. You're crazy. You're crazy. All of you, you're mad. I mean, that's what you wanted, the kite, the wool. Let me get out of here.
Vera! Get her! Three little soldier boys sitting in a row, thinking as they guzzle who's next to go.
Oh, Philip.
It's alright, Miss Claythorne. I don't mind joking on a full stomach.
was hungry. But all the same, I just don't think I shall ever fancy Tinn's tongue again.
Well, I was wanting that meal. I feel a new man.
We've been 24 hours without food. It does lower the morale a little bit.
In the daylight, everything just seems different.
Ah, yes, but you mustn't forget there's a dangerous homicidal lunatic loose somewhere on the island.
Why doesn't one feel jittery about it anymore?
Because we know now, beyond the shadow of a doubt, who it is. Eh, Lord?
That's right.
It was the uncertainty before.
I said it the whole time it was Armstrong.
Yes, you did, my sweet. You did. Until you suspected all of us and went bats.
It seems rather silly, now in the day.
Very silly.
Allowing it is Armstrong. What's happened to her?
Well, we know what she wants us to think happened to her.
What exactly did you find?
A shoe. Just one shoe, sitting prettily on the cliff edge. Inference, Dr. Armstrong went completely off her onion and committed suicide.
It's all very circumstantial. Even to a one little China soldier broken over there in the doorway.
I think that's rather overdoing it. A woman wouldn't think of doing all of that if she were going to drown herself.
Quite so. But we're fairly sure she didn't drown herself. She only had to make it appear as so. So she'd be the 7th victim, and it was all according to plan.
What if she really is dead?
I'm a little bit suspicious of death without bodies.
It's crazy to think that we're eating tin tongue here and there are 5 dead bodies over there.
Ah, the delightful feminine disregard for the facts. There are 6 dead bodies and not all of them are in there.
Oh no! She's right. There are only 5.
What about Mrs. Rogers?
I have counted her. She makes the 5th.
Look here. Marston 1, Mrs. Rogers 2, General Mackenzie 3, Rogers 4, Emily Brent 5, and Wargrave 6.
7, 8, 9. Armstrong 10. That's alright, old man. Sorry.
Wouldn't we want to bring Mrs. Rogers from downstairs into the morgue?
I'm a detective, not an undertaker.
For heaven's sake, stop talking about bodies. The point is that Armstrong murdered them.
Should have known it was Armstrong straight away.
How do you think Armstrong got hold of your revolver?
I haven't the faintest idea.
Tell me exactly what happened.
Well, after you threw a fit of hysterics yesterday and locked yourself in your room, we all thought we would better go to bed. So we all went to bed and locked ourselves in our rooms.
About an hour later, I heard somebody pass by my door. I went to knock on Blor's room. He was there, all right. And I went to Armstrong's. Empty. And I went to your room and told you to sit tight no matter what happened. Then, as I went downstairs, I saw the balcony door completely open and my revolver sitting right beside it.
But why the devil should Armstrong chuck that revolver away?
Don't ask me. Either it was an accident or she's crazy.
Where do you think she is?
Lurking somewhere, waiting to have a crack at one of us.
We ought to search the house.
What? And walk into an ambush?
Oh, I didn't think of that.
Are you sure you heard no one when we went out?
Oh no. I thought I heard many things, but nothing short of setting the house on fire would have gotten me out of that room.
I see. Just thoroughly suspicious, that's all.
What's the use of talking? What are we going to do?
If you ask me, do nothing. Sit tight and take no risks.
Look here. I want to go after that fellow.
What a dog of a bulldog breed you are, Blor. By the way, between friends and without any prejudice, You did go for that little spot of perjury, didn't you?
Well, I don't suppose it makes any odds now. The lander was innocent, all right. But the gang squared me, and between us we put him away for a stretch. Mind you, I wouldn't admit it now if it wasn't all dead.
You think we're in the same boat?
I couldn't admit it in front of Mrs. Justice Wargrave, could I?
No, hardly.
I say, that fellow Seaton, do you think he was innocent?
I think so. Wargrave certainly had a reason for wanting him out of the picture. Well, Laura, I'm so glad you came off your virtuous perch. I hope you made a good bit, tiny bit out of it.
Nothing like what I ought to have done. They are mean a lot, that Benny gang. Got my promotion, though.
And Landor got penal servitude and died in jail.
Couldn't tell he was going to die, could I?
No, that was just your hard luck.
His, you mean?
Yours, too. Because remember, you might get your life cut short unpleasantly soon.
What? Me? By Armstrong? I will watch it.
You'll have to. Remember, there are only 3 little soldier boys left.
Well, what about you?
I'll be alright. I've been in sticky situations before, and I mean to get out of this one. Besides, I've got a revolver.
Yes, there's a revolver. Now listen. You said if I lie down there. What's to prove you haven't had it all the time?
Same old gramophone record. There's no room in your head for more than one idea at a time, is there?
Well, it's a good idea.
And you're sticking to it.
And I would have thought of a better story than that if I were you.
And I only wanted a story that a policeman could understand.
What's wrong with the police?
Nothing. Now that you left, of course.
Now look here, Captain Lombard. If you are an honest man, as you pretend...
No, Lord, neither of us are honest.
If you are telling the truth for once, you ought to do the square thing and chuck that revolver down there.
Don't be an ass!
I said, I will go through the house looking for Armstrong, haven't I? If I'm willing to do that, will you lend me that revolver?
No, I won't. It's my revolver, it's mine, and I'm sticking to it.
Then do you know what I'm beginning to think?
You're not beginning to think, you square-headed flatty. You only thought about it last night, and now you got back to your original idea. I'm the Mr. Unknown Owen, is that it?
I won't contradict you.
Well, think what you damn well please, but I warn you.
I think you are both behaving like a pair of children.
Sorry, teacher.
Of course, Captain Lombard isn't the unknown. The unknown Owen is Armstrong, and I will tell you one very good proof of it.
Or what?
Think of the rhyme. 4 little soldier boys going out to sea, a red herring swallowed one, and then they were free. A red herring, don't you see the subtlety of it? That's Armstrong's pretended suicide, but it's only a red herring, so she really isn't dead.
It's very ingenious.
To my mind, it's absolute proof. You know, it's all mad because she's mad. She takes a childish, queer, crazy pleasure in sticking to the rhyme and making everything happen that way. Getting the judge, or getting Rogers when he was chopping sticks, or using a hypodermic needle on Miss Brent. She could have just drugged her. She just has to make it all happen that way.
And that might give us a pointer. Where do we go from here? 3 little soldier boys walking in the zoo? A big bear hugged one? And then there were 2. We will have a job with that one. There is no zoo on the island. Oh. I say, Captain Lombard, what about the nice bottle of a beer?
Oh, do stop thinking with your stomach, Blore. Your appetite's going to be on your undoing.
But there is a plenty of beer in the kitchen.
Yes, and if the murderer wanted to place the poison anywhere, it would be a nice bottle of beer.
What's that?
Floor's got his.
How?
Booby trap. All set up. With something hanging from the window above.
Is he?
Yes! Crushed. The big bronze bear holding the cloth from the landing.
A bear? Oh, how ghastly this awful childishness!
I know. God, what a fool Floor was!
Now there are two.
Yes, Vera. And we'll have to be very careful of ourselves.
We won't do it. We won't do it. She'll get us.
Oh, yes.
We're never gonna get out of this island.
Yes, we will. I've never been beaten yet.
Don't you feel like there's somebody in the room with us just watching and waiting?
It's just the nerves.
Do you feel it?
No, I don't.
We have to get out of here, Philip. We have to get out. Like maybe if that was a boat, they'll see us.
All right. We'll go on top of the cliff. There's a sheer cliff off the far side. We can search for rescue and see if anybody comes from the house.
Anything is better than this.
Would you be cold in that dress?
I would be colder if I were dead.
Perhaps you're right. Quick reconnaissance.
Be careful, Philip, please.
I'm not Bloor. There's no window directly above. Hello? Something washed up on the rocks.
It looks like a body.
You better stay in here. I'll go have a look.
Armstrong's body.
It's Armstrong. Drowned. Washed up on the high water mark.
So there's only the two of us on the island.
Yes, Vera. And now we know where we are.
Now we know where we are?
Yeah, that's a pretty little tricky of yours with that wire. Warbrave always knew you were dangerous.
You?
So you did drown that kid after all.
No, that's where you're wrong. You have to believe me. You have to listen to me.
Oh, I'm listening. And you better make it a damn good story.
It's not a story, it's the truth. I didn't kill that child, it was someone else.
Who?
A man. Peter's uncle. I was in love with him.
This is getting quite interesting.
No, Samir, it was hell! Absolute hell! Peter was born after his father's death. If he would have been a girl, you would have gotten everything.
Ah, yes. The well-known tale of the wicked uncle.
Yes, he was wicked, and I didn't know. He said he loved me, but that he was too poor to marry. There was this rock out far that Peter always wanted to swim to. Of course, I couldn't let him. It was too dangerous. And then one day, I went back to the house for something I'd forgotten, and when I got back, I saw him swimming to the rock. And I flew down, but you tried to stop me. He said, "Don't be a fool." I told the little ass he could do it.
Go on. This is quite interesting.
I pushed past him. I dived into the water with. I couldn't get there in time.
Everything went well at the inquest. They called you a plucky girl, and you kept discreetly quiet about Hugh's part in the business.
Do you think anyone would have believed me? And I couldn't. I was in love with him.
Well, Well, it's a pretty story. And then I suppose Hugh let you down.
Do you think I ever wanted to see him again?
You certainly are an accomplished liar, Vera.
Can you believe the truth when you
Who
hear it?
set the trap that killed Blore? I did it and Armstrong's dead. I've broken most of the commandments in my time, and I'm no saint. There's one thing I won't stand for, and that's murder.
You won't stand for murder! What about those natives you left to die in Africa?
That's what's so damn funny about it. I did it!
What do you mean?
Once. Just once, mind you. I tried to play the hero. I sacrificed my life to save the lives of my men! I gave them food, ammunition, my rifles! And I took a chance through that bush. By some sordid luck it came off. I wasn't in time to save my men! The rumor gets around that I deliberately abandoned my men. That's life for you!
Do you expect me to believe that? You admitted to the whole thing!
I know. And I got such a good kick out of watching their faces.
You cannot fool me with a stupid lie like that!
Blast you!
How didn't I see it? It was in your face all along! In the face of a killer!
You can't fool me any longer. You cunning little devil!
If you come one step closer, I'm going to shoot.
You, young, lovely, and quite mad!
Nowhere doubt. My 10 little soldiers' plan. My rhyme. My rhyme. Silence in court! If there's any more noise in the court, I shall have the court cleared. Don't be afraid. Don't be frightened. This is a court of justice. You'll get justice here. You thought I was dead. You thought I was ghost. Armstrong said I was dead. That was the clever part of my plan. Said we'd trap the murderer. No. Said we'd stage my untimely death so that I should be free to spy upon the guilty one. She liked that plan. She came out to meet me at the cliff without any suspicion. I sent her over with a push. So easily. She swallowed my red herring all right. You know, Vera Claythorne. All my life, I wanted to take one. Yes, to take life. I had to get what enjoyment I could out of sentencing the guilty to death. I always liked that, but it wasn't enough. I wanted to do it with my own hands. But I am a judge of the high court. I got a sense of justice. As between our sovereign lord the king and the prisoner at the bar, will true deliverance make guilty. Yes, guilty. You were all guilty, but the law couldn't touch you. And so I had to take the law into my own hands. My own hands. Silence in order! Anthony Marston first. Then Mrs. Rogers, Barbiton in the brandy. Mackenzie stabbed. I got Rogers when he was chopping steaks. Yes. Doped Emily Brent's coffee so she couldn't feel the hypodermic. Booby trapped for Blore. Blore was a fool. I always knew it would be easy to get Blore. Turning that revolver, that was a clever touch. Made the end interesting. Oops. You know, I always knew you two would suspect each other. The question was, who'd win out? I banked on you, my dear. The female of the species. Besides, it's always more interesting when there's a girl in the end. Vera Elizabeth Claythorne, I sentence you to death.
No, stop, I'm not guilty. I'm not guilty!
They all say that. Must plead not guilty. Unless, of course, you're going all out for a verdict of insanity. But you're not mad. I'm mad. You're not.
You'll never get away with this.
Oh, I shan't be around to find out. I shall be found laid neatly in my bed, shot through the forehead in accordance with the record kept by my fellow victims. I thought it out to the last minute detail, most ingenious, yes. I will take a cord and connect my spectacles to that revolver, making sure to preserve your fingerprints. The cord is elasticated, you see. And so, when it loops around the door handle, the gun, I will pull the trigger with the weight of my body on my spectacles. The gun will recoil, detach itself, and jar the door. Nevertheless, needless to say, when the sea goes down, there will come from the mainland boats and men, and what they will find is 10 dead bodies and an unsolved problem on Soldier's Island. But first things first.
No, I'm innocent. I'm innocent. I swear, you're a judge. You're supposed to know when people are innocent and when they're guilty. I swear, I'm innocent.
You know, my dear, you were the last of my guests to be recruited. One night, when I was crossing the Atlantic, the sole occupants of a smoking room were myself and a good-looking young man. He had taken a considerable quantity of drink and was in a confidential and maudlin mood. He told me the most intriguing of stories. I remember his words now. I've known the murderers. Known her, I tell you. And what's more, I was crazy about her. You wouldn't think that a girl like that, nice, straight, jolly girl, would take a kid out to sea and let it drown.
No, please.
Naturally, I had to be quite sure. So I asked him, "Are you certain?" And he said, "Yes, quite certain. You know, she did it for me." I knew the moment I looked at her.
No, I never wanted to kill that child.
You know, I watched all of you very carefully during my little gramophone recital. By the end of it, with my long years of experience in the court, I was quite certain that you were all guilty. now you killed Lombard. Tell me, what it feels like to be a killer. What it feels like to be guilty. Oh, and you liked him. How cute. Prisoner at the bar, have you anything to say why a verdict should not be passed on to you? You're the last one. Last one of my soldier boys. You complete my rhyme. I must have my rhyme. No. One little soldier boy stayed all alone. He went and hanged himself. Yes, hanged himself. I must have my hanging. My hanging. And you must pay for the crimes you committed. For the poor, innocent child you murdered. For Lombard. Come on. Come on. It's going to be all good. Yes. No. One little soldier boy, left all alone, he went and hanged himself. Then there were... Now, I'm forgetting something. Yes. How silly of me. Wouldn't want anyone thinking you killed yourself. Would we now?
ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for coming. We hope you enjoyed the show. And feel free to join us for an after party at FestofKAA. So just reminding you all, we still have to clean everything up, but one more big applause for FestofKAA.